The first week of Harvey Weinstein's trial came to an end Friday afternoon, and there's still no jury. Weinstein appeared in court Friday in New York City, where he's being tried for allegedly sexually assaulting two women several years ago. His trial began Monday, the same day sexual assault charges were brought against him in Los Angeles. Hundreds of New Yorkers have been summoned for jury duty, but most were dismissed when they indicated they couldn't keep an open mind about Weinstein. More than 80 women have accused him of sexual misconduct. The 67-year-old has pleaded not guilty to all charges and allegations. He faces a maximum of life in prison if convicted. Attorney Jesse Weber joins me now on set. Hi, Jesse. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
You've been there in the courtroom all week, sitting right behind Harvey Weinstein. Tell us about the mood in the courtroom.
Really hard to explain, especially since the fact that there's no cameras, no texting, no emailing, no cell phones. It's kind of its own little echo chamber. Gotta say, first day when he walks in, or should I say he comes in with the walker, it felt very surreal. This once great, powerful legend in Hollywood is now reduced to this kind of feeble defendant in the criminal justice system. I gotta say, it's pretty incredible to watch. And I have to say the fireworks between the defense and the prosecution started day one. I mean, the defense had a really rough week. They lost a lot of motions. They didn't get the kind of trial that they were hoping for at this point, and they tried to delay the trial given the LA charges, and they kept on losing. The judge is having no part of this. He became his own kind of character in week one, and we haven't even seen opening statements yet, and the jury hasn't even been selected.
Right, and as we said in the introduction there, he was texting in the courtroom, which is obviously not allowed, and almost the judge threatened to throw him in jail for it. That's pretty dramatic.
So I was actually sitting right behind him. I see him having these two cell phones, and I'm thinking to myself, how is he allowed to do this? Well, at one point, the minute the judge walked in, didn't even put his robe on, he scolded the attorneys and Harvey Weinstein for doing this. And it's a repeated violation, said to Arthur Aidala, what did I say to you? What did I say was going to happen? I was going to change the bail conditions. And Harvey Weinstein actually tried to speak up and defend himself. He goes, sir, I encourage you to invoke your right to counsel and remain silent at this point. And then, as you know, he made that famous quote, which kind of got the judge in a little bit of hot water, threatening to say that, is this really how you want to spend the rest of your life in jail for texting in violation of an order? That became a controversial issue for the defense to say, well, a judge shouldn't make that comment, inappropriate, tried to get him kicked off the case. That didn't work.
So
Fireworks.
much drama.
So much drama.
So much drama. So how does one, though, I mean, all of that aside, how does one ensure a fair trial in the case of such a high-profile person like Harvey Weinstein?
So it's really tough. I mean, we're talking about probably the most high-profile trial since O.J. Simpson. That's what I believe. The way you have to do that is to really try to get an impartial jury, which seems impossible. And especially given on the eve of jury selection, the L.A. charges.
Right.
These L.A. charges are dropped. It's going to be impossible for people not to know this. Now, what seems to be happening, which is a great thing, is that during this pre-screening process, which is happening right now, is a multitude of jurors are actually raising their hands and saying, I can't be impartial. 40 jurors raised their hands on the first day of jury selection. I know about this, can't be impartial. They're kicked out. There's going to be a more thorough level of questioning, I believe, next week, January 16th, which is when I plan to be in the courtroom for that. And you really want to try to get an insight into these jurors and try to get an impartial jury. Very, very tough. That's their only hope. That's their only hope for the defense.
And that's going to take quite a while. Now, we know that dozens of women have accused Weinstein of sexual misconduct. Why are there only two cases in this trial?
There are two big factors to consider here. One, it's very difficult for these women to come forward and tell their story. There's been criticism, which I don't think is right, about the women who have opted in for that settlement, that civil settlement. You have to realize telling your story is very tough. Telling your story.
How many women did opt in for that?
They're still determining how many women actually wanted to opt into it. They have to make that decision. Look, it's very tough to tell your story. To tell your story in an open court when you could face cross-examination, that's a decision that you have to make. The other big issue is the statute of limitations. Some of these claims are just way too old. It's the same thing with Annabella Shora, who is going to testify in this case about something that happened in the 90s. Now, her claim couldn't have grounds for an actual criminal charge because it's so old, but she's allowed to testify under this unique New York law that try to show that Harvey Weinstein is a predator. Now, again, these two women have very strong claims. One has been identified, one has not. We're going to learn more details of it, and it seems to be these kinds of cognizable claims that actually may stick, and as you know, they carry significant prison time.
Absolutely. Is there any exchange between the Los Angeles case and the New York one? It's my understanding that one of the victims is testifying in both trials?
We believe one of them is the special Molyneux witnesses, which is to help show kind of this pattern. The big thing to remember, and which was brought up by the defense, is you can't think it's coincidence that on the eve of jury selection, these LA charges were announced. There's something going on here. What the real big thing to remember is, other than that, if Harvey Weinstein were to take the stand and he were to defend himself in this trial, anything he says could be used in a later LA trial. There is a kind of a relationship, but these are generally separate charges. His first battle is the New York case, and even if he gets acquitted in New York, he then has to face the LA trial, which is, again, very different. One of the big witnesses there, one of the main accusers, is totally unrelated to the events associated here in New York.
Now, earlier we discussed how this jury selection process is dragging on for obvious reasons, but how long is this trial in New York expected to last?
Okay, so let's think about jury selection hopefully getting done by the week of January 21st. We expect opening statements January 22nd. This trial is going to last 6 to 8 weeks with hopefully a verdict in March. That's optimistic, an idea, because we know with these kind of trials, things can happen, it can get pushed over, and we might see a verdict later on in March or mid-March or maybe even April. Things happen. So this jury, one of the big reasons that you have to find is jury members who can stay on for that long. They have lives. Can they commit themselves to that long of a trial? We're going to be seeing a lot of Harvey Weinstein in the months to come.
And Jesse Weber, so will you. You'll be in that courtroom, and we'll be checking in with you later. Jesse, thank you so much.
Thank you.